Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of the freedom-loving farmers and ranchers in West Texas and my energy producers that are giving our great nation energy independence, I want to congratulate you, Ambassador, for your position and for your reputation. You enjoy a great reputation, a bipartisan one, one who is extremely adept and competent and shrewd in these matters, and I'm looking forward to working with you. And you're also an experienced litigator at WTO. We're going to need that. So I want to be positive and say all of that. I mean it too. But I also want to express some deep concerns, and so I don't mean to get too critical here at the front end of this relationship. But you mentioned worker-centric trade policies, and I don't take any exception with raising the standards of workers around the world, and certainly I want an even playing field for our job creators here. But my question is not about the workers of Mexico or Canada or Kenya or China. They're American workers. That's our first obligation, first responsibility. And I'm concerned about the workers in the oil and gas industry. And there seems to be this tremendous hostility towards this industry. There's a tax proposal to increase taxes. I think it's going to make us less competitive. I think it's going to run jobs back overseas. But there's a weaponization of the tax code element to what the Biden administration has put out by saying we're going to remove basically the same deductions, the same benefits that other companies have to deduct the business expenses and depreciation cost. So, but that's a targeted deal in the oil and gas industry. But the big one is the Green New Deal-like extreme climate policies and the unilateral actions the president has taken by, with the stroke of a pen, canceling critical infrastructure like the XL pipeline, saying we're not going to drill on public lands. I mean, this is, I got to tell you, I used to say that China was our greatest threat with respect to international trade and sort of the economic competition and challenges more broadly. Listen, these policies are the enemy of our oil and gas producers, hard-working, tax-paying folks who are truly turning the wheels of this economy. And they are giving us food security, and they are deeply concerned about the climate-related, the extreme climate-related environmental policies, along with all this other stuff that I mentioned. Could you tell me that you are committed to supporting oil and gas product and trade and ag product and trade? Because we don't just feed and clothe the American people, we feed and clothe the world. In 2050, we're going to have double the demand on the ag side. And we're actually reducing the carbon footprint and greenhouse gases because of the extraordinary gains in exporting LNG. So could you speak to your commitment around oil and gas, especially, again, with the backdrop of all of these policies that I'm telling you, they feel like, and I believe it's true, an assault on an industry that's been so good to this country. It's been a blessing to our country. Anyway, I'll let you answer if you would, please.
Well, Congressman Arrington, thank you for your kind remarks at the beginning and for letting me know that your remarks were going to become more impassioned. You clearly are an effective and great champion for the workers in your district, both in terms of the ag sector and also the oil and gas. And I commend you for that, because our workers deserve that kind of advocacy from their representatives. Let me try to be responsive to your intervention in a number of ways. You were very specific about tax proposals, and I just have to confess my own incompetence when it comes to tax. I could see you breaking down some of the terminology for a layperson. I really appreciate that, but I also want to be careful not to wander into policy areas where I will commit malpractice, and so I'm happy to pass on your concerns to Treasury Secretary Yellen. It was interesting as you were talking, you talked about, the extreme climate policies. And it was interesting because I was nodding along, and I realized because I was thinking about extreme climate consequences. I just want to say this. I hear you when it comes to advocating for the interests of the workers back at home, and I can understand. I feel it in my bones in terms of the feeling like policies are taking off that are an assault on your livelihood and everything that you have dedicated your life to doing. I think we've seen this before also. I think, for our auto state members, our manufacturing state members, I think a lot of our American manufacturing workers have felt like they've gone through exactly this, which is policies that have moved on without them, without any regard to the kind of role that they have to play in the economy that we're moving towards. Let me say this. I am committed very much to American workers in all segments and sectors, but I also need to recognize where our economy is going, where the global economy is going, and frankly, what is happening to our planet. So, I want to keep talking to you. I want to talk to you about the interests of your workers at home. And I think that there is a broader administration conversation to be had, too, with other people who are smarter than me on a lot of these policy areas to talk about how we can adapt the U.S. economy to compete in the kind of planet and global marketplace that we see coming, but to make sure that we are able to mitigate the impacts, negative impacts to today's workers, and then also to empower our workers for the economy that we are moving towards.
Thanks for your indulgence, Mr. Chairman.
Thank the gentleman.